When the going gets tough, the Orlando Magic, well, they get going. They disappear. They shrivel. Why the foundations to the Magic are cracking again today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is January 3rd, 2026. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com, credentialed member of the Orlando Magic media since the 2012 season. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, another disappointing, puzzling, frustrating, uncharacteristic, maybe it is characteristic at this point, loss for the Orlando Magic to the Chicago Bulls, a 121-114 defeat. Why the Magic shriveled once again when things got hard, and why their foundation continues to crack. We're going to break it all down coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic an even bigger part of your day by being one of our Orlando Magic dailies. That means you listen 5 days a week during the weekdays. You listen on weekends like this one. We're part of your normal podcast rotation. We are your first listen of the day. You're part of our everydayer club. We want to thank you for making the Locked On Magic community such a great and vibrant and growing community. And we want to thank you for helping make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. What defines the Orlando Magic? Like, let's start with the big picture question that we're going to get to today. What defines the Orlando Magic as a whole? Let's forget about this year's team for a moment. When we think of a Jamal Mosley coach team, and we think about what this Orlando Magic team has built over the last 3 seasons and heading into this 4th season, we think about, first and foremost, the effort and intensity on defense. We think first and foremost about a team that does not get outplayed. They may miss shots. They may not be the strongest shooting team or the strongest offensive team. But you know they're going to get stops. And you know that no matter what happens, they're going to play harder, to an annoying effect. Before we get to anything else on this roster and anything else that may or may not define this team, that has been the calling card of the Orlando Magic for the last 3 years. That is what has made the Magic a 2-time playoff team, a team that nobody wants to see in the playoffs, even if they don't have the talent or the ability to win that series. You're going to play a team that was going to be hard to play against. You're going to feel that team every single night. Physically feel that team every single night. You may beat the Magic, but they'll beat you your next game because you're so tired. They were tireless. They were unending and unceasing. That is Orlando Magic basketball. That is Jamal Mosley basketball. And maybe we're spoiled rotten, but that's what we expect when we see this team play. That is what we expect every time the Magic take the floor. It's not just a Jalen Suggs thing, although he helps. It's not just a Franz Wagner thing. That's the Orlando Magic identity. And unfortunately, I have to come in here and talk again about the Magic not meeting that standard. But what else? What else about the Magic stands out? Well, the biggest thing to me is because they play so hard, because they have this try-hard identity, because they have this ability to just outwork you. They are a team that was resilient and tough, and even when everything was going wrong, they didn't lose that. And they won a lot of games being one of the worst offensive teams in the league because their defense was a backstop. Their effort was a backstop. And unfortunately, a 121-114 loss to the Chicago Bulls is a symptom of bigger problems. It is just yet another example of how this Magic team lets go of the rope. How this Magic team does not meet their standard, does not meet the culture, the foundation, the identity that to most everyone around the league defines them. This game was tied. This game was back and forth. It was all those things heading into the final moments of the game. And that's when Orlando hit what has become so common and has made them one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the league. They are still one of the best clutch teams in the league, although I don't know what today's stats will do to that. But they are one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the league. I think they're 22nd in the league. Actually, I do have those numbers, so let me look them up real fast. They are 22nd in the league, I believe, in net rating in the fourth quarter. Entering Friday's game, because I do have those numbers readily available, like on a dime. Entering today's game, the Magic had a minus 2.1 net rating, a 111.9 offensive rating, 114 defensive rating. They're 19th in net rating, 22nd in offensive rating. But lately, that has gotten worse. Because it seems like clockwork now, the Orlando Magic go into this offensive shell where they just can't score. Well, you know what? That's normal for this team. Like, we only expected to be league average in offensive rating. We didn't expect the Magic to be one of the best offensive teams in the league. We expected them to be one of the best defensive teams in the league, and for their defense to lead the way, to be the guiding force, because their effort was enough. And all they needed to do was get a few more transition opportunities to take that leap, to take that next step. And so when that offensive drought hit again in the fourth quarter, unlike Wednesday against Indiana, when their defense led the way, their defense got the stops, even though the Magic could not score to save their lives in that fourth quarter, until Paolo made that shot at the end. Their defense kept them in it. More like Monday against Toronto, more like name a game, because the Magic have had so many games this year where they had leads in the fourth quarter, blew them, and had to bail themselves out. We could talk Utah. We could talk the second quarter against Denver, the start of the fourth quarter against Golden State. We could talk the fourth quarter against Portland both times, to be perfectly honest. And how the Magic were unable to put the hammer down. How even when the Magic go cold and go through these droughts, their defense keeps them calm and keeps them in the game. That is Magic basketball. But repeatedly over and over and over and over again, and certainly exemplified in this game, and we'll talk about this game more specifically here in a minute, when the going gets tough for the Magic, they wilt. When the going gets tough for the Magic, they get frustrated. You can see it on their faces. They lose their focus defensively, and things get worse. The measure of a team and the quality of a team is not when things are working. The measure of a team is not when everything is going exactly to plan. When the Magic went up 14-4 in the first quarter, when the Magic, gave up the 10-0 run right back and then went on another 14-0 run to retake the lead. When the Magic did all of those things and put themselves in this great position to win, only to give it away because they go through these droughts and their defense just isn't good enough anymore. So forget that Paolo Banchero had a 31.6 rebound, 6 assist game. Forget that Anthony Black had 18 points. Forget that Wendell Carter had struggled to shoot, but still had 10 rebounds and 13 points and was still trying to make plays, and still trying to do all the right things. Forget all the good that might or might not have been in this game. The Magic making 14 of 32 threes. The Magic cannot lose games when they shoot better than 40% from three, and they lost a game where they shot better than 40% from three. Forget all that. Because Chicago outworked them, which Utah did, which Portland did, which Denver did, which Golden State did. When the Magic beat Denver, they won just purely on effort. It wasn't because they shot better or did anything else better. It wasn't even because they defended better. They just worked harder. The Magic are forgetting all those lessons. The Magic are forsaking all those lessons. They're forsaking their identity. They're forsaking their foundation. Because when things get hard, the bridge collapses. The team collapses. And sure, they are able to get it back on occasion. But on Friday night, it happened too late. And frankly, and it's fair to be upset, it's fair to be frustrated. You should be. I am. And frankly, it is happening too much. I'd call it a wake-up call, but I called the last one a wake-up call. I called the Toronto one a wake-up call. I called the Utah one a wake-up call. I called the Golden State one a wake-up call. And the Magic right now are just treading water. They haven't won or lost consecutive games. Let me double check that stat here. They have not won or lost consecutive games now since the New York Denver, since the start of the West Coast trip. Since losing to New York in the NBA Cup semifinal and losing to Denver to open the West Coast trip. They're exchanging wins and losses. They're treading water, which maybe that's enough. Won't be enough in January. They got to win games in January. Like, their January schedule is set up for them to succeed. But the Magic got to find themselves before they go anywhere. So let's talk about what went wrong Friday against the Chicago Bulls. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 Eastern are appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. You get something new, boosts, bonuses, and surprises. You can check those weekly specials before tip-off and make a move before the window closes to take the most advantage of these special deals. So before tip-off every Friday, check the FanDuel app and see what's happening during NBA Happy Hour. It's every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That is NBA Happy Hour, only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Magic, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You get an invite to our members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of this show. I hang out in the Discord. I'm putting up my 3 thoughts after every quarter for every game. We're still growing the community, but this is a great place to interact directly with me. And as we grow the community, interact directly with other Magic fans as well. So go to lockedonmagic.supercast.com. That's lockedonmagic.supercast.com, or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. We're going to forego the typical box score review today. Because I want to point out the ways that the Magic just continue to fail to live up to their standard. Like that is the only story. Like, yes, Paolo Banchero, third straight game looked like Paolo Banchero. Fantastic. You know, we're not freaking out over every Paolo performance anymore. He looks like Paolo Banchero at long last. And so good news there. Magic were -7 in his minutes. They were pretty much hovering around even, playing against the other starters, but the Magic didn't function very well without Paolo Banchero in this game. When Paolo was in, he was really the only one that was able to create. He was getting downhill. And, you know, part of the problem in the fourth quarter was the Magic stopped going downhill, just like they did in the fourth quarter against Toronto. So that is partly a Paolo problem, but it's a part of other problems too. It's a big part of the problem on defense. And again, this is over the last 3 years, this is not something we're used to being concerned about. Defense was a given. And frankly, like, this is the heart of so many issues for Orlando. Orlando gave up a 122.2 defensive rating in this game. I want to repeat this because it's worth repeating. The Magic had only 8 games last season, giving up more than 120 points per 100 possessions. I believe tonight makes 10 or 11 of 34 games, 33 games. No, of 35 games? I don't know how many games the Magic played. The Magic are bleeding points in ways that they're just not used to bleeding points. And, this game was played at a pace of 99.5 possessions per 48 minutes. That is a pace the Magic should be comfortable at. But the fourth quarter was worse by far. Orlando scored only 76 points per 100 possessions. Just didn't make shots. Couldn't get to the basket, couldn't get to the foul line, just could not make shots. Paolo missed a couple free throws, a couple big free throws. Like, missed some open threes, sure, but just a disaster of rush shots, poor decision making, and we'll get to some of them here. Orlando gave up 125 points per 100 possessions. And a lot of that came early when the Magic just fouled, like Jamal Cain, who had a really solid game early on in the first half, got an extended stint in the second half with Jalen Suggs going out with an injury. He hit his knee, suffered a right knee strain. I'm betting he's going to miss at least Sunday's game, which is not good. The Magic defense was really bad without Jalen Suggs. Just plain and simple. If you're just looking at the advanced stats of this game, the Magic had a 109.8 defensive rating with Suggs on the floor. That's pretty good. Everyone else just really bad. Just, except for Wendell Carter. Wendell Carter's at 110.9. Desmond Bane's at 113. Just anyone who played any significant minutes, especially the bench in the fourth quarter, the defense just was non-existent. And again, we're not used to doing things. But Jamal Cain committed 3 fouls in pretty quick succession in the fourth quarter. Chicago got to the bonus with 9 minutes to play. And so we've seen this issue before where Orlando commits a lot of fouls and suddenly they have to back off and their defense isn't nearly as good. They don't know where the line is for their physicality. And so now they're playing on their back foot. Now they're unable to get turnovers. They're unable to get out in transition. They're unable to get easy baskets, and teams are just attacking. And this is something the Magic were able to work around last year. They didn't have this problem last year to this degree. And it just seems like it's happening more and more often. On top of that, they're just getting beat to offensive rebounds. In the game, the Bulls had a 28.9 offensive rebound rate. Now, that's not going to look very crazy when you look at the full stats. Chicago tallied only 9 offensive rebounds. That doesn't seem right, but the Bulls tallied 9 or 10 offensive rebounds. But they made so many shots. Chicago shot 50% from the floor, 14 for 41 from 3, 17 for 19 from the foul line. So let's dive into the specific plays that kind of ended this game, because I do think that's important. The Bulls led, it's 102. Let me find the right spot to start counting here. The Bulls led 105-104 with 6:29 to play after an Anthony Black putback. Okay, no big deal. Got a foul on Jamal Cain. Matas Buzelis splits his free throws, 106-104. Then you had Paolo with about 6 minutes left. Try and dribble to the free throw line. Try and squeeze through 2 defenders, spin into a defender and lose the ball. Matas Buzelis, easy layup. Now you're down 4. Then Jamal Cain commits his 5th foul. I think it was his 4th of the quarter. And Matas Buzelis gets a free throw. Matas Buzelis was fouled on that layup. 3-point play, it's a 5-point game. So now you're dealing with a 2-possession game. From there, it's Anthony Black missing a wild floater. No big deal. Magic get a stop. Bane gets credited with a block. Then Paolo commits a turnover. Again, just missed opportunities. And then after getting a missed wide open 3 by Isaac Okoro, Anthony Black comes back, fires a contested 3. That's just no good. Then Patrick Williams gets a pull-up jumper, and it's a 7-point game with 4:27 to play. And again, Orlando just isn't getting stops. It's little decisions. It's little things as much as big things. It's, Paolo gets to the basket. Nikola Vucevic pins a smaller defender, gets a layup, gets those points back up 7. And then you get to the very end of the game. Magic are down by 5, or down by 3. and Desmond Bane misses two straight pull-up threes. The first one I did not think was a good shot. It was a Desmond Bane shot. It's why you brought him in, but not a good shot. You're down 3 with a minute 45 to play. I'd rather work for a better shot. I'd rather work to get to the basket and trust the defense, but it doesn't matter. And then Trey Jones hits a basket with 42 seconds left, a tough runner with 42 seconds left, and that's your ball game. Like I always say, good teams don't win close games. They avoid them. And they avoid them because it comes down to, are you going to make your open shots, and are they going to miss their contested shots? Quite frankly, there was just this stretch where Paolo had a turnover, the Kane foul and one on Buzelis, the Anthony Black runner, which I didn't like, the Anthony Black 3 I didn't like, another Paolo shot that I didn't like. The difference between winning and losing is really small. It's really, really, really small. And the Magic are good enough and talented enough, and this is what's maddening even more. This team is talented enough to win even when they don't play well. And they didn't play well today. They're talented enough to win even when they don't play well. But if they played with effort, if they didn't watch rebounds sail over their head, if they didn't just sit there and not box out or go attack the glass, if they made their free throws, let me make sure I get their free throw numbers right here. They were 2 for 4. Paolo missed back-to-back free throws. Missed 2 free throws on one trip at a critical juncture of the game. 3 for 7 from the line for Paolo Banchero. The Magic were 14 for 21. They missed 7 free throws in a game they lost by 7. And a game that could turn on one of those makes. And instead, they're arguing with the officials. They're slow to get back. They're not chasing rebounds. This team was second in the league in defensive rebound 4 weeks ago. They were second in the league. They were one of the best rebounding teams in the league 4 weeks ago. They are now one of the worst. They've been the worst rebounding team in the league. I don't even need to check the stats. They've been the worst rebounding team in the league for the last month. When things get hard, this team doesn't trust their foundation. They don't trust what they're doing. They shrivel. They let go of the rope. And so a loss like this shouldn't be surprising. Like, frankly, like, guys, I had a lot of people yelling at me, and that's fine. Yell at me. That's what I'm here. I'm here to be yelled at. I had a lot of people yelling, like, how are the Magic losing to the Chicago Bulls without Josh Giddey and without Kobe White? They're 2 top scorers. How are they losing to this team? Well, guess what? The Magic are 7-8 over their last 15 games. The Magic have been playing like a 35-win team for the last 3 weeks, if not the last 4 weeks. Really, it's been 3 weeks since Franz's injury. They're not playing well enough to count a win against anybody. Now, they're talented enough. You should expect them to be better. I am not disagreeing on that. This is disappointing, and this is unacceptable effort. The way they've played for the last 3 weeks, it's not Magic basketball, number one. It's just plainly unacceptable. And again, we saw them do this in October, so it shouldn't be wholly surprising that it didn't completely go away. And you hope that as the team gets healthier, it will go away. And they will start to resemble the team we believe they can be, that they believe they can be as much as anything else. But don't act surprised that the Magic are struggling. They've been struggling like this for 3 weeks. This is the norm. This is the normal right now. And look, even the best teams go through some rough patches. Maybe not this long, and maybe going through a rough patch for this long, for the last month. Maybe that is what costs them the 3 seed. Maybe that is what costs them home court advantage. And, I'm not making any judgments about long-term stuff. You could hear my thoughts on long-term stuff on yesterday's pod about New Year's resolutions. Those will answer your questions. The fact that it is easy to think and talk about long-term stuff probably says all it needs to say. Like, honestly, that does probably say everything that needs to be said. And maybe we are going to reach an inevitable conclusion at the end of the season. That's a long time from now. There's still time to fix this. There's still time to be the team. that everyone believes this Magic team will be. The East isn't running away from you. The Knicks lost tonight. The Celtics will hit a rough patch at some point. They're still in that tight race from 4 to 8. You're getting ready to face probably the easiest month they're going to have. So, again, if we're at the end of January and things haven't been fixed, yeah, there's trouble. That will be trouble. And it starts Sunday against Indiana. But this stuff, all that stuff is irrelevant. Because this will not get fixed until the players play with better effort. The players play with better consistency. The players play with the intention that they tell us they want to play with. And when things get hard, like they did Monday in Toronto, like they did tonight in Chicago, they respond with their defense. They don't let it get to them. They stick to who they are. And maybe they're not that. Maybe they're not. But things aren't going to change unless they do. So let's end today with some good news, because there is some reporting that help is on the way. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. I'm an optimist, and we're going to close this show with some optimism. We're going to close this show with perhaps some good news, the news that we have all been waiting for, because I don't think I used to believe that all these issues would be solved by the team being healthy again. And look, Jalen Suggs went out at the end of the third quarter, like about minute 20 left in the third quarter. He tried to split a double team, got to the rim, drew a foul. Jalen Smith landed on him. And Jalen Suggs was very, very clearly limping and hobbling, favoring his right knee. He left the game at that point with a right knee strain, is what the Magic called it. Probably going to miss a little bit of time. But obviously, even in this game, in a game the Magic lost by 7, the Magic were plus 15 in Jalen Suggs minutes. And their defensive rating was 109 with him on the floor in a game where they couldn't stop a chair. Jalen Suggs makes a huge impact on this team. There's just no getting around that. And, Wednesday's game against Indiana was they had like a 100 defensive rating. They had a really good defensive rating in that game. They had their best defensive rating. I think it was like their second or third defensive rating under 110 since the Philadelphia game that they blew out, that they won in a blowout. The Magic just aren't defending at the level they need to defend at. And Jalen Suggs helps them get there. Getting healthy again won't fix all these problems. I think I said this in October. I'm repeating it now that we've seen this now for 3 weeks. This is part of who they are. Like we're at a point of the season where you kind of are who you are. And you can hide some stuff and it'll peak back up and it'll pop up again. These are habits. This is part of who they are that they can hide, they can work on, they can improve. But it isn't going completely away. And that's scary. Like that's not good. They cannot play like this in the games that matter in the spring. But the good news is that the Magic are getting closer to being healthy. And they could be getting the big piece back here very, very soon. On the pregame show on FanDuel Sports Network Florida, on FanDuel Sports Florida, Jeff Turner was laying out his 3 New Year's resolutions for the Magic. I laid out mine on yesterday's show, but he laid out his 3. One was to return to their standard. Didn't do that tonight. The other was to take advantage of a very light January. Didn't do that tonight. And the third was to get healthy again. And as he wrapped up the segment, he kind of said to an aside, like, it's something to the effect of, it is my understanding, or we have heard, and we have actually heard this because they're on the road, and representative of the Magic, Jeff Turner works for the Magic, that Franz and Moe Wagner are expected back within the week. Let me repeat that. I kind of said that nonchalantly. I feel like you need a moment to savor it, to celebrate it, to get that good news back in you after the last 25 minutes of me railing and being depressing about this Magic team. So let me let you savor the aroma. Let me let you put it in your mouth and swish it about, because I don't drink wine, but to breathe the flavors and smell that bouquet. I think that's what that is. Jeff Turner, the straight-laced company man for the Orlando Magic, love you, Coach Turner, said on FanDuel Sports Network Florida's pregame show that Franz and Moe Wagner are expected back within the week. Now, again, things could change. They probably have some hurdles they got to get over. And, excuse me, they probably have some hurdles they got to get over still. And, that's not going to be Sunday, perhaps. Maybe it will be. That's why I'm doing this now, in case they are coming back Sunday, or one of them's coming back Sunday, which could happen. But it's a light at the end of the tunnel, especially for a team and a franchise that doesn't share injury updates and doesn't share when guys are coming back. Obviously, Franz Wagner is hugely important. To me, to my eye, he is an all-defensive team-level defender, and that is something the Magic have been desperately missing. He is another guy who can attack downhill and take attention from the defense. So that makes so many lineups easier. Like, Desmond Bane has been great, and I'm glad we've gotten to kind of see some of his limitations, but I really think Desmond Bane has really struggled in that primary attacker role. I think he plays a lot better off of Paolo or off of Franz. I don't think he plays as successfully when he is the main guy in the offense. Same thing with Anthony Black. Like, they just need a second attacker, so that especially in these fourth quarters where things slow down a lot, they can't just load up on Paolo, and Paolo's just kind of left to fend for himself. Like, having another guy that is a threat to attack off the dribble and is such a strong defender. Like, I honestly, like, you look at this Magic lineup right now, the defenders just aren't good enough. Anthony Black is a solid defender. He was really struggling navigating pick and rolls. He's a little inconsistent with his pick and roll defense right now. Wendell Carter's not a shot blocker, but Wendell Carter's been solid, but Paolo's been pretty poor on defense. Like, Desmond Bane got beat several times backdoor by Kevin Huerter in this game. Like, you go down the bench, like, Tyus Jones, obviously not a good defender. Jace Richardson, obviously not a good defender. Tristan Silva's up and down. Like, there's just a startling lack of perimeter defenders on this team. For a team that prides itself on its defense, there aren't many plus defenders. Again, if there's one rotation decision I would question tonight, Jamal Cain did some good things in the first half, was abysmal in the second half. Jonathan Isaac probably should have been in the game, or Noah Penda should have probably been in the game, just to give them some size and some defense. But, again, like, I get it. Cain's earned an opportunity. He's defended well, had a bad game, had a bad second half, more than a bad game, had a bad second half. And again, that second half did cost them the game. Those early fouls backed them off on defense. They changed the way that the Bulls played. It gave them confidence. Like, it was a big deal. But obviously, Franz just changes so much about this team in a similar way that Jalen Suggs changes this team. As does returning Moe Wagner. Like, Moe Wagner was having a career season last year, and obviously it's going to take him a little bit of time, and I don't think we expect Moe Wagner to be what he was last year. But as Jamal Mosley likes to joke, Moe Wagner falls out of bed and scores 10 points. For a team right now struggling to score, having a reliable offensive option, especially those early fourth quarters, just a guy that's going to screen hard, play hard all the time. Just another kind of guy that just tries his hardest every night. That's such a huge boost for the team. That's such a huge boost for this group. And you think about it this way too. Right now, the Magic's bench is just not good. Like, they don't get consistent scoring off their bench right now. And so the starters do have to do a lot. Like, you're asking a lot of Anthony Black. Like, Anthony Black had a solid game, finished with 18 points, 7 assists, 3 turnovers, 8 for 60 shooting, 2 for 5 from 3. Like, a solid game for Anthony Black. It was -10, but solid game for Anthony Black. All 5 starters scored in double figures, with Paolo at 31, Anthony Black at 18, Desmond Bane at 14. They got 7 from Tristan da Silva. They got 7 from Jace Richardson. They got 8 from Jamal Cain, 5 from Goga Bitadze, and nothing from Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones was +1 in the game, by the way. I just want to note that for those who are tracking such things. Getting Franz Wagner back in the lineup that pushes Anthony Black back to the bench, assuming that Jalen Suggs is healthy. And now all of a sudden you have Anthony Black, who's a 20-point per game scorer, coming off your bench. Now all of a sudden you have Moe Wagner coming off your bench, who's a capable scorer. Now you can kind of set some lineups and spread the floor a little bit. And now you have constant offensive threats. For everyone who's like complaining about Jamal Mosley, and there's lots to complain about Jamal Mosley. We'll talk about Jamal Mosley a little bit more throughout the course of the season. I don't put this game on him. Effort to me is on the players. It's not on the coach. The coach, all the coach can do is put you in a position to win. Magic were in a position to win tonight. If the Magic are getting blown out, I'll blame the coach. That's the coach. That means that the team didn't execute something right and they didn't have a chance. They had a chance tonight. All they need to do is try. And that's to be on the players. Now, the coach is the easiest one to change. Like, if you're going to have a big picture conversation about Jamal Mosley, maybe the voice has grown stale. We've suspected that a little bit for a while now. They were able to get it back. They got time to get it back. Moses getting the year. I find it to be a moot point to talk about Jamal Mosley until we see what happens in the playoffs. Like, this, honestly, that is honestly how I feel. You can feel differently. I see all the comments, when those comments start in earnest, in a more serious fashion like this, then yeah, like maybe the writing's on the wall. I'm not going to deny that. This isn't the night. This isn't on him. Like, look what he has available. Look what his best players did. Like, that's on the players. Like, it's on them to execute and play better. They're not playing hard and losing. They're getting outworked and nearly winning. To me, honestly, that says coaching's fine. It's not coaching that's the problem. Okay, coach is the easiest thing to change. We'll get to that in the spring. Getting these two key players back, like, just shifts the whole roster. And again, like, we have not seen this Magic team at their best yet. Like, well, if we're going to bring the camera back, if we're going to bring the microscope back and look at the big picture and look at the forest, we have not seen the Magic at their best yet. Their starting five of Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Desmond Bane, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter has played only 117 minutes and 11 games together. Again, it is the third best lineup in the league by net rating that's played at least 100 minutes together, which is a small amount. They're plus 18. So they're not going to be plus 18 forever. They'll struggle. They'll probably drop back down to plus 10, which is still crazy good. Hope not. If they drop down to plus 10, then maybe there are some issues, some bigger issues we need to talk about. But we need to see this team at full force before we draw many conclusions. And it appears we are getting closer to that. It appears we are getting closer to that. It appears it'll be within the week. I would be hopeful that if I were predicting, I would say Friday for both. Friday against Philadelphia for both. Give them a couple games before you go to Berlin. But it does appear that it's happening soon. We're certainly in the window where it should be happening. Hopefully we'll get some answers and we'll learn a little bit more Sunday when the Magic take on the Indiana Pacers. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the formats download podcasts to your podcast enable listening device. You can find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content and to further support me and my coverage of the Orlando Magic, I'm already starting to plan some road trips later on in the season, and your support really helps me. Check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. If you never miss an episode, you can also check out another way to support me, the Everydayer Club. Get Locked On Magic ad-free, plus members-only Discord access, and more. Head to lockedonmagic.supercast.com to join the club. For those of you on video, we're going to send you the first ever 24/7 National NBA YouTube channel on audio. Make sure you make your second listen NBA game night on Locked On NBA. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We'll be back Sunday evening. Early game, 3 o'clock tip-off on Sunday We will be back Sunday evening to recap the Orlando Magic's game against the Indiana Pacers. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.